So this response goes out to you, Diamond. What is it? Mesquite. If I'm saying your name, if I'm wrong, I apologize and everything. There's no disrespect on that end. And there's no disrespect to you. First and foremost, there's no disrespect to you as we have this learning experience about what really happened in history. And we be able to look at each other's perspectives and find out the real truth. Now, you say, you seem to be so angry about this subject. Is it guilt? No, there is no guilt in it. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know none of those people. I don't know. Everybody who was involved in slavery are dead, and I don't know none of them. So I don't have no guilt because I did not participate in it, and I do not have any type of emotional or physical attachment to anybody that is involved in slavery of Africans to America. All right, you said those who respond in the way in which you have responded feel guilty for something that has absolutely nothing to do with them. No, it's a passion. What I have is a passion for all black people, you know what I'm saying, who continue to have this victimized type of mentality as to why they can't move forward. They keep blaming somebody from 1,000 years ago about what happened, or in this case, blaming America for what happened to their ancestors, and they don't even know their ancestors. They can't even give me one name. You can't even give me one name of an ancestor that was enslaved that you know, not just on a piece of paper, but that you know, and you know what I'm saying, and that you had physical contact with, and that you had an emotional contact with. None. So let's move forward. Black soldiers also died in the Civil War. Initially, the Civil War between North and South was fought by the North to prevent the secession of the Southern states and preserve the Union. Excuse me. What actually happened, you know what I'm saying? Well, I'm going to go back. Black soldiers did fight because the Union helped black soldiers understand that if you want freedom, you have to be willing to fight and die for your freedom. And I think it was a good strategic military move by Abraham Lincoln to be able to allow black men who were oppressed and who were beaten and seeing their families and shit torn apart and seeing their loved ones raped and murdered and all type of weird ass shit to be able to give them a fucking rifle and use that morale and use that anger and use that hatred for that white man to be better soldiers and kill as many motherfucking white men as they possibly could. I thought it was a brilliant strategy to allow black regiments in the Civil War. Now, everybody has, you know, in history has their different reasons as to why the Civil War was fought and all these different things. But slavery was one of the main, major situations, right? Because all the other stuff that you're talking about, what the reasons why, you know what I mean, went to war, didn't no law was created behind that shit. The law that was created behind the motive of the Civil War was the abolishing slavery. John Brown was all through Lawrence, Kansas and shit, causing hell and shit, dude. There was problems with slavery, you know what I'm saying, when the Quakers got here back in the 1600s and shit. There was always a problem with slavery because it affected the religious beliefs of the people that was coming over here. Because the original people that came over here to the United States at that time, or to the colonies at that time, was being exiled by Great Britain because of their religious beliefs. They sent those people over to America, over to North America, I should say. This is before it became actually a nation called the United States of America, to die. Now let's go back to what you were saying about the Civil War. The Civil War was fought because they was trying to push slavery to the west past the Mississippi River. So they was all in Kansas. I was born in Lawrence, Kansas, so I know the history. I know when John Brown was out there wrecking shit. So that's why they call it Bloody Kansas, because they went down there and shit, and they was trying to stop that shit from fucking happening. They was trying to turn Kansas into a slave state. You understand what I'm saying? So the thing is, Abraham Lincoln just got tired of the shit, right? Abraham Lincoln got tired of it, and Abraham Lincoln put in that order, the Emancipation Proclamation. He wrote that up in order to abolish slavery. He put an executive order during the Civil War to free black people. That was the main thing. The main thing, the reason why the Civil War even happened is because of John Brown. John Brown went to Harper's Ferry with his sons and some other people, and they fucking try to take over Harper's Ferry and try to get those guns out of there so they can give them to the black people down there so they can raise a revolution in order to free them. But John Brown got caught up and they hung his ass. John Brown is the first white man dude to ever do it, to create an army to free black people in America. That happened. So when that happened, the southern states who had slaves, who believed in slaves, they looked at it as an act of betrayal in the white brotherhood, because under the law, they could have slaves. Under the law, it was their slaves were their property, and nobody could tell them what they could do with their property. That's how the United States government was at that time. And then when John Brown did that shit, he was like, I'm freeing black people and shit, and I'm willing to lose my life in order to do it, because he got this epiphany from God, and he went out there and he sacrificed his life for that shit. He got hung for that shit. Right? Abraham Lincoln had a problem with slavery. A lot of people there were so many white abolitionists in America who was sending money to Frederick Douglass and Harriet Tubman and helping all those goddamn black people and shit like that to be free, man. You know what I'm saying? So slavery is always a problem since day one. Now, when you talk about this, let me go back to what you were saying. Now, when you talk about even though sectional conflicts over slavery have been a major cause of war, ending slavery was not a goal of the war. Then what was the goal? You think the goal was to keep the Union together? Why was they wanted the Union to stay together? They wanted the Union to stay together because they wanted the South not to have any fucking slaves no more. So that was the plan. They was like, look, we cannot. When Abraham Lincoln got into office, Abraham, like I said, looked at that Constitution and was like, that should be for black people as well. That should be all for all people. And if we're going to live by the Constitution of the United States of America, we cannot be fucking hypocrites while I'm the motherfucking president of this motherfucker. So what Lincoln ended up doing, he was like, look, this is a problem. Do y'all want to end slavery in the South? They like, no. All the House of Representatives, senators like, no, we want to have it. All that's what they say, like, we don't want to have it. That is what caused the division of that kind of talk. And then revolutionary action started, like I said, with John Brown, which the Confederate states or the Southern states created the Confederate Army and took that as an attack, as a traitorous attack against them, and they went to war. The government is in the North. You understand like that? The government is in the North. Washington, D.C. is in the North. Washington, D.C. is not a slave state. You know what I'm saying? So that shit just ended. It was a time to just end slavery. That was just the time frame. And Abraham Lincoln got shot in the fucking head behind that shit. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah, when you say they ended slavery in the nation in less than 100 years, yes, that is true. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm gonna continue reading what you said. Slavery existed in the United States for over 2 centuries. The first African slaves arrived in the English colony of Virginia in 1619, and slavery persisted until the end of the Civil War in 1865. So slavery lasted for about 246 years in the U.S. And I challenge that, because in 1619, the United States was not their own nation. You understand what I'm saying? That Virginia colony that you're talking about, when you say English colony, that English colony comes from Great Britain. Great Britain is the one who owned that English colony, who had control over it and all that shit. Not until 1776 when Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson and John Hancock and all them people we read in school, until they wrote up that Declaration of Independence to get away from Great Britain, that's when that shit ended. Prior to 1776, all that shit is Great Britain. So Great Britain is responsible for bringing all them black Africans to to that colony in 1619, not America. And from 1776 to 1865, which was the end of the Civil War, that's when I'm talking about less than 100 years, because America as a nation had their own shit. They wasn't under the rule of Great Britain. So when they had their own shit, slavery was still a problem. And in 1865, they ended that shit. That's less than 100 years. That's why I say that's more accurate than what you're talking about. Was I a slave? No. But my ancestors were. And since they are not here to accept that apology, that will probably never happen. I'll be standing in their place waiting. I'll be damned if you or anyone tries to erase their history and their suffering just because you're feeling guilt. Yo, that's crazy. Because, like I said, there is no guilt and there's no erasing. I'm telling you what the fuck happened. I'm not erasing shit. Those African nations allowed them slave traders to come in there and take your ancestors. Let's start there. Why are you not talking shit about them? Why are you not talking? Yeah, and you know what's so crazy? Do you even know who your ancestors were? You know what tribe they from? You know what name they are? You know what religion they practice? You know their customs and traditions? You know what I'm saying? Do you know any of that? When you start talking about ancestors, because when I hear a lot of black people talking about ancestors, they just think about, oh, because somebody black and they came from that continent and shit. But who was your ancestors? What was their name? Right? Who took them? Who bought them? Who traded them? All that type of shit. You know what I'm saying? Let's find that out. You know, and there's no erasing no history because I'm talking about it. So I'm not trying to tell nobody to fucking not know about it. I'm just giving you the real truth of what happened. And I'm telling black people, dude, stop being victimized by that shit, dude. Y'all watching all these goddamn slavery movies and shit like that, but none of these black directors, none of these people in Hollywood is making movies about Ramsey II and Seti and Nefertiti and all them kings and queens back in the day. You know what I'm saying? There's a reason to keep y'all mentally fucked up about that slavery shit. Nobody knows we don't know what really happened in slavery. The only reason why we really know what happened, well, we really know. The only reason why we know anything about what happened in slavery is because of fucking movies, man. And anything that we read in the book is going to be based on our own imagination. Our idea of the treatment of black people in slavery is a part of our imagination, dude. We do not know the actual truth about that shit. Now, and you say, and if you got a problem with that, then you should take your ungrateful ass back to where your ancestors migrated from. My ancestors built this country off their backs. I ain't going no damn where. Okay, well, I was born in America. I ain't got a problem with America like how you got a problem with America. And like I said before, who is your ancestors that built America? What was their name? What did they build? Tell me what they built. Let's be real about it. If you said your ancestors built America, right? What did they build specifically? Tell me what they built. What railroad was they working on? What field did they pick cotton at? Or what the fuck did they do? And what was their names? And give me proof of what they did. You can't do that shit. You just say that ancestry shit, dude, because you want to live with somebody else's suffering and shit, man. You know what I'm saying? You don't know none of them ancestors that you're talking about. You don't know them by name. You don't know them by tribe. You don't know none of that shit. You're just making shit up, man. The U.S. government have officially apologized for other atrocities they are participating in, but for some reason, this inhumane act gets no apology. Did it happen to you? And do you know the people who it happened to? Right? That's the thing. And why do you need an apology from your enemy? Why you need an apology from the people that oppressed your people? How is that going to make you feel? What is that going to do for you? It's not going to change what the fuck happened. It's not going to change the fact that your ancestors back on the continent of Africa way back in the day allowed that shit to happen. They raided them African villages and shit and took innocent black women and children and put them in fucking chains and fucking huts and shit and made deals with them slave traders, dude, for fucking material items and fucking political favors, dude. Like I said earlier in this conversation, we starting there. We start at the source of shit. None of this slave trade shit would ever happen, dude, if it wasn't for your fucking traitor ass fucking ancestors and what they did to their own people. None of this shit happens if that doesn't happen. So I'm on that shit. Let's talk about that. Yeah, and I'm passionate about that shit, dude, because I'm sick of hearing you whining and crying and all that type of shit about people you don't even motherfucking know like that, dude. And you got the history fucked up. You got the whole history fucked up. You know what I'm saying? You just want to blame one person for slavery. You just want to blame America for slavery. But you're not looking at the fucking Arabs and shit. You're not looking at the Portuguese. And you definitely ain't looking at motherfucking Great Britain and all the goddamn slaves they brought over here, too. You ain't looking at none of them people, dude. You just singling out one country who ended motherfucking slavery, dude, in less than 100 years, dude, when they built their own nation. You singling out that person. And that person ended slavery faster than any of these motherfuckers out here right now, dude. It's Africans in slavery right now, dude. Right now in Africa. You ain't saying none of that shit about that. You trying to live, you trying to hide behind your ancestors that you don't even fucking know, dude. That's another weird ass shit. You don't even know your ancestors who was enslaved. Talking about you want to stay in a land that you know oppressed your people. You want to stay here because your ancestors built it. But you can't tell me what your ancestors built. That's crazy now. So I'm in this conversation just like that, and we can go further if you like.